So if you're just joining us,
we're embarking on an interesting topic.
We're in the middle of a conversation with Jeff Thompson, Beth Gustin, Robin Ennis.
Oh yeah, Wellness Wednesday with Beth and Robin. Gonna settle it down. Oh yeah, get your feet planted on the ground. Wellness Wednesday.
I think it's all about approach and being approachable.
Thinking about ships that pass in the night. Sometimes you have these conversations with the person and you get out of the car and you shut the door and that's it for life.
If we all could be a little more open to experiences and talking to people, I think we would find a lot more kindness in the world. Life is like a box of chocolate.
You never know what you're going to get. Yeah.
We're talking about the fact that we are raised not to get in a car with strangers, and now we're encouraged to get in a car with a stranger.
Right.
Well, I do that. I get into Uber or the Lyft and I say, how's it going? And if they lead in that's inviting, then I don't even put in my earbuds.
Oh, yeah.
I just kind of read how they are.
Right.
Or sometimes I notice that they're on the phone with someone or they got the radio going loud. If they're tuning into something else, I'll tune them out and tune into my own thoughts and my emails or whatever I'm going to do, depending on how long a ride I have. But it's up to them. I'm game.
I was included in a conversation that one Uber driver was having with his wife. Apparently, their neighbor had a mental breakdown and left the husband and the kids, and they couldn't find her for a while. Yeah. And so then he said, hey, I'm in the Uber with the person. And yeah, I was included in on the conversation and how not to make a neighbor gossip and things like that. So.
Wow.
So we're obviously talking about, I think, a couple different things. One is how do we navigate Ubers and Uber preferences.
And lists, yeah.
But the other thing that's coming to mind is those moments where we touch someone else's life and don't even know it, or someone touched our life and they don't know it.
Oh, and maybe that could be like offering gratitude kind of, right? Like
right.
What stops us from telling people how much they impacted our lives if we can.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. What do you think, Jeff?
That was the sound of a light bulb, wasn't it?
It was. It was. Ding, 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 ding. And it goes with the holiday season. Everybody's really festive.
The new year. Poof.
And it's also the beginning of a new year. So I was thinking about, like, we've talked about our theme for the year.
Right.
What do we want our theme to be? And maybe someone's theme could be in a positive way, telling people what you think, or how you feel.
I'm going to let them know.
Sometimes it's just engaging. Do you engage or are you the one that's shutting it down? You know, like if someone has an inviting question, do you put a big period at the end of that and just that's it?
Right.
Or do you carry it on? Do you go further? I mean, we're all different. I'm the type of guy that'll carry on a conversation until the ride's till he's kicking me out.
Right. Yeah.
So the ride's coming to a complete and final stop.
Exactly. Well, I'm an introvert, but oddly enough, I put a comma and keep it going. And I remember on the crisis line, my supervisor, she would look at some of my chats and she's like, yeah, you opened the double door for that one. Like I would just keep going and going. And then my chats will last like 2 hours and there's
come on
last like 20 minutes. Right.
I'm an extrovert, but I tend to, depending on my mood, but I'm thinking, I'm reflecting, and I'm thinking about the fact that I tend to, oddly enough, not invite conversation if it's someone I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, with my clients, I hope I'm more a comma person, but I think with rideshare drivers in particular, or people that I'm talking to as I'm out and about in the wild, as we say these days, I shut it down because I don't know. I just do.
Right.
If it's a safety thing, I don't know if it's a best thing. I don't know if it's a mood dependent thing. I've never honestly stopped till now to think about that this deeply. It could be all the above. Yeah.
I heard a story one time of someone who was very well off and they got driven around more so they could conduct business while they're being driven around. They can carry on the conversations and you can look things up, dot the I's, cross the T's, that type of thing. And so I used to try and think of being productive during the Uber rides. And I would be upset that the person, the driver, would want to chit chat. And then I realized I can find out so much about a country, the communities that we live in. All sorts of stuff. It's so interesting. It's like flipping through the channels. You never know what you're going to get when you get in that Uber drive, just like a box of candy on Forrest Gump.
Right.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to get. Yeah. That's one of my favorite quotes.
I love that. I love that in an Uber. But the other day, I've had to use Ubers like 5 times in the last week running around. Sometimes it works out perfectly because the person is not a talker. And I had things to do anyway. So it just works out. And I thank them, I tip, and go about my day. And sometimes it's like they say something, I'm curious about it. And pretty soon we're down this National Geographic trail,
Yeah.
just traveling down those paths of life and sharing.
Right. The Uber driver that I had today when I was taking Lucky for her grooming appointment said it perfectly. He's like, sometimes I feel like I act like a therapist, right? People will never see me again. So I provide that space for them to vent, and just let it out. And some people do need that listening ear. And I was saying how they're talking more about how beauty shops and barber shops are becoming the unofficial therapy place.
Just gonna say that. Yep.
Yeah.
There's actually a research study out there, and I don't remember who did it, but essentially the salon, in this case it was a salon, but the person doing your hair in many cases was a more effective therapist in that moment.
Yeah.
Because that person got validation, they got to vent, they got, someone just to listen they weren't going to probably see again. And it's really helpful. I've heard that bartenders are also becoming the unofficial therapist,
I heard that too. I actually supervised a social worker getting her licensure, and she was a bartender during grad school. And so we did talk about the dichotomy of how people, in that atmosphere would openly divulge to her, and needing to talk.
Yeah. Well, what happens when you don't have someone to divulge to? I mean, does your cat and dog hang out in the other half of the house? Like, here he comes.
I know, but I mean, we laugh, but I think so, right?
That's what makes pet loss grief so painful.
Exactly.
Because that is your only support.
Yeah. Beth, do you want to talk more about that? Because you help people through pet grief.
I do, but this is exactly what makes pet loss grief so painful, and not to go off on a tangent. But it's because, we're laughing about it. But in all honesty, if you live alone and you have a pet, that can be one of your main emotional support systems. And so when you don't have that, it's extremely lonely and isolating, and it can be hard to find that validation that people need when they're grieving.
I remember right after COVID, we had a meeting, and there must have been 30 people at this gathering, and just sit around talking, chatting, unofficially before we all sat down at tables and stuff and started talking. And it was so awkward because during the COVID time, I rarely even talked to an Uber driver. You just didn't want to breathe as much. You wore a mask and stuff like that. It was very impersonal and stuff. So coming out of that, it took me a while to get talking again. Now I'll talk to anybody at the coffee shop. Starbucks, it has to be one of the oddest ones, or most of them are. I have a hard time telling which end you go in and which end is receiving their drink. And so I always go up and I just go to one end or the other and I just ask. And that person will turn and go, oh yeah, this is it right here, where other people won't even ask people. And it's like, I don't know, it can start conversations. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's fine.
Yeah, no, it can start, conversations. I want to go off of what you're saying, Jeff, but just continue with the pet aspect is, I think that there's even studies to show that people who are pet owners have a longer life.
Yes.
Because of that level of that outlet. So I just wanted to add that. And Jeff, I hear you talking about like a sense of community, right? Being able to go into a place like Starbucks, and if you are at the wrong place, having somebody to unofficially look out for you and be like, hey, no, you need to go the other way, or, but it does take that initiative to ask somebody or to reach out. And it made me think of when I went to Starbucks. I've been there about a handful of times and I know the manager there, but somebody else who was watching me came out and introduced herself and said, hey, you ever, need any help, or, this is my name. And so, so I met a new person that way. I think it's all about approach and being approachable, whatever setting you're in.
This morning I was walking into my office, and Manolo, my guide dog, likes other people too much, and so he beelined for someone, and this person's like, your dog's coming right at me, and I love dogs, but I was like, well, you're welcome to say hi, but he'll lick you to death. And the guy's like, well, I'm gonna say hi from back here because I don't want to die, or I forget how he phrased it, but made a joke about it. And he's like, Happy New Year, and he walks away, and I was like, well, that guy seems like he'd be a lot of fun, but
yeah
but it just random interactions, that person made me smile, and I just think kind of going back to our original topic, we never know how someone might impact us or how we might impact them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and then not to sound all like, if we all could be a little more open to experiences and talking to people as it's appropriate, I think we would find a lot more kindness in the world than we appear to see, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
We're driving down the road, and I was in the passenger seat, of course. And my stepdad said, as we're driving along this one strip, it's between the railroad tracks and the road. He said, well, these are really cute houses. They've really taken care of these houses. And I'm agreeing with them and stuff. I said, but it lacks something. Not only do you have a road in front of you, behind you is the railroad track. I mean, it's a little ways behind. It's not right up against them by no means. But they don't have any place to community eyes, I guess, to go for a walk around the block because it's just a straight line. You got to go one distance and then come back, where the neighborhood has roads that are deep inside where you can just aimlessly go down 2 blocks, take a left, take a left, take a left, and you're back home. That type of thing. But I was just thinking, all those houses, there might be 12 of them, they don't have a neighborhood. When we're talking about us and having a dog, you have someone to talk to. Well, if you don't have someone to talk to, that next Uber driver is going to get a mouthful because I haven't talked to anybody for a while. Thank you for being here. You know, I ain't going anywhere. Just let's drive for 20 minutes. I don't know. It's just, I like to talk to people, and I'll engage in any situation because otherwise I draw a blank. I don't know what to do unless I'm, like I said, I put in the earbuds and tune out. So I don't like tuning out people. I give them that chance at first.
And that's why if somebody's feeling lonely or isolated, there are always opportunities for you to get out and talk to people. You just have to be willing to take that step. I'm an introvert, and so I have to really push myself. And my clients are shocked. They're like, you're an introvert? And I'm like, yeah, in my personal life, I really have to push myself to go to social events or to engage with people. Going back to the gratitude, letting people know, you know, how they made a difference in your life. You know, we were talking about this, is that I've had some really, really deep conversations with some Uber drivers. It's like, I can't have the general basic conversations. Like I just dive deep. And so I don't know how we ended up, one Uber driver that I'll never forget, and this was before the pandemic. I had him twice, actually. But the first time I had him, we were talking about grief. And he wasn't talking about grief in terms of my disability, because that's where people automatically go sometimes with my blindness. But rather, we were talking about grief in terms of death. And I don't know how we got on that subject, but he himself was in the ministry, and he had lost his wife and child in a car accident 15 years before. And I had mentioned a really hard loss that I had about 3 or so years before during that time. And, you know, we really talked about our grief journey. And I didn't think I would see him again, right? And so on his Uber profile, I found a poem that really talked about, I think it was a starfish poem, but it really talked about how one person can make a world of a difference in a sea.
I love the starfish.
Yeah. And so that's where I had put. And then oddly enough, some years later, I had him again, and he knew that I had put that poem for him. And again, we had an enlightening conversation, but he was saying that meant a lot to him, and he had talked about me in his ministry. So both of us mutually had impacted each other, and we both were able to offer our gratitude, you know, to one another.
I did not know you could leave things like that for them. I knew you could rate them, but I didn't know you could actually leave a comment.
Right. Like when you do a rating, I think, and it shows up publicly. I don't know if you still can do that, but yeah, years ago you could.
I had a driver before COVID that I wished I would have known about that, because he was an older guy and he went way above and beyond, including like making sure I got into my house before he drove away. And we just had this really nice conversation about nothing to do with my blindness or my service dog, which is what most drivers tend to want to talk about. But it was just a really nice, normal, I shouldn't say normal, but a nice, normal rideshare conversation.
Yeah.
And it felt so validating to be seen and treated the way he did. And I never got a chance to really, I said thank you, you know, but I didn't get a chance to really say thank you, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it just made me think about, like, generationally speaking, how different we all are. and, culture to culture and country to country. And so it makes this world, I think, a really neat place to live. But I reflected on the fact that he's the only Uber driver I've ever had that, I don't know, had those kind of manners or values, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt really good to be seen as a person, not as a person who's blind.
Right.
Thinking about ships that pass in the night. Sometimes you have these conversations with the person and you get out of the car door and you shut the door and that's it for life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that 10-minute or 7-minute, whatever conversation you had sticks with you.
Yeah.
Or it makes you feel, I don't know, satisfied or, I just nod my head like that was good. Mm-hmm. I don't know the person. I won't know the person. And yet next time I get an Uber, I always think about that first minute or two. I know if I'm going to have a conversation or not. I can read the person that quick. But I don't try and drag it out of the person at all. I just get busy and do stuff like that. It's same with the bus driver. I had a bus driver for many years when I worked downtown. And I would get in and I'd swing around. I wouldn't sit up front because blind people are supposed to sit up front. I would sit up front because I saw the guy every day of the week. And we had conversations and we would talk and all sorts of stuff. So sometimes I would sit back if I was with someone else or with other people that are on the ride. After you work for a while on a bus, you get to know the group of people somewhat, a little bit. Mm-hmm. I did. And I stuck out with the cane. So they all knew me more than I knew them. But I guess I'm an extrovert at that point when we're talking about interacting with people that you don't know.
This makes me think about a little bit different conversational cul-de-sac to go down. But I was thinking about privacy and how with vision loss, and in many cases, we need someone else to help us fill out paperwork. Like the questionnaires in the forms of the doctor's office or whatever. If we can't do it online or with someone that we know, we're having to tell a complete stranger some pretty personal stuff at times. And this is a little bit different angle of our conversation, but it just made me think about like how vulnerable that can be and how the person who's helping us complete the form, if we need that, can really make or break that experience.
Yeah.
I really like My Chart.
Yes.
The app. I can fill out all those questions,
Me too.
all the things.
Yep.
I think they send it too many times. I think if you're within a week or 3, you should be able to slide, but they want it every time.
Although I don't like their electronic signature is not accessible, but My Chart is for the most part 98% accessible.
Yes, agreed.
I use the app and I don't have to sign anything.
Oh.
The app on my iPhone.
Oh,
okay.
Never tried the app.
I haven't either. That's good to know.
It's beautiful. Then every time you leave, they give you a report. You get all your reports back right there. Files, everything right on your phone. Your prescriptions, everything.
But I think that fits with appreciation, right? Because like you said, it can make or break depending on how that person treats you or how they're helping you. So whenever I have somebody who is very helpful and if they don't have My Chart or I need to have somebody go over the forms with me, I always say, I really appreciate your help and thank you so much. I think that can go a long way. So I just want to come back around and I encourage all of you listeners too to think about what is stopping you from offering that gratitude to somebody or that level of appreciation in terms of what they've offered you in your life. And really evaluate on how you can be able to voice what you're feeling. Because you never know what difference that can make on a person.
I agree with that. We'd like to hear from all of you as far as, is there a time where you did tell someone you expressed gratitude to them, or someone touched your life and you were able to thank them for that, or vice versa, or what stops you from saying that? Because I think it can be sometimes embarrassing to thank someone for something, depending on how we feel about it or how we were raised. So we'd love to hear your stories as well.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear from you. We enjoy the feedback that we get and also too just the relating that you all do with us. So feel free to reach out and talk with us.
Until next time, take care and stay grounded.
Until next time, take care.
Thanks for listening. And until next time, bye-bye.
Oh yeah, Wellness Wednesday with Beth and Robin. Gonna settle it down. Oh yeah, get your feet planted on the ground.
For more podcasts with the blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to leave us some feedback, give us a call at 612-367-6093. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye-bye.
Wellness and taking care of ourselves. It's all about you and taking care of yourself. Oh, yeah.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap
between the limited expectations
and the reality
of blind abilities.
And the realities of blind abilities.